Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Friday Facebook Live get together. We do this every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Leslyn Keith, and I'm here with my colleague and friend, Siobhan Huggins. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, Leslyn. I am the research specialist with the Lipedema project. I don't know why my brain stopped functioning there. But I do experiments and I write stuff and I talk about stuff and all different types of things to keep me entertained.
Yeah, and you conduct experiments on yourself, and that is something we're going to talk about today. So I'm really excited to hear about some of the new developments that you're seeing. I am the director of research and the board president for the board of directors for the Lipedema project. And Siobhan and I help a lot with different happenings that are happening with Lipedema Simplified, which we were going to kind of start off today talking about some of those events that are coming up that Lipedema Simplified is doing. But before I get onto that, I would just love to have you that are listening to us live put in there, say hi to us, maybe say where you are in the world. I'm in Ventura, California, Southern California, where we are currently experiencing a lot of fires. So the air is quite thick with smoke. But so far, I've been able to check on some of our members that are in the area, and they're doing fine. And Siobhan, you are in Boulder, Colorado, and it's gotten a little bit cooler there, yes?
It is currently snowing.
Oh, okay, so a
So
lot cooler.
I have my mitten on because I'm not under my heated blanket right now.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's currently snowing. It's been snowing since Tuesday night. And my dad let me know because he's my personal weather reporter because I never look into any weather reports. He let me know that it's expected to be up to 24 inches of snow, at least in the mountains, so probably not as much here. But yeah, lots of snow. I expect within a few days, though, it'll probably warm up and all melt.
Yep. Yep. So probably not going to stick very long this time
No,
of year. Yeah.
nope, not yet.
So there is a bunch coming up for lipedema. And one of the things is that Catherine was just telling me about. The NIH has a commission on lymphatics. It's been meeting already they've had several public meetings, virtual and in person, and they're going to be having a town hall on November 18. So be looking out for more information on that. Catherine has been asked to present. She's going to do a short presentation, and she is going to be coming to you to get information about things you should be telling this commission, what's important to someone who has lipedema. And so be looking for that email, because this town hall is happening on November 18. And in that email, she's going to be asking you for some information. And she's also going to be giving you information on the town hall itself. So you can be there, you could be listening in, you could be live streaming as it's happening on November 18. Incidentally, this commission, one of the co-chairs is Dr. Stanley Roxon. So you know that he's got your back when he was representing not only clinicians and researchers, but also patients. So be sure and tune in and look out for that email from Catherine coming soon. And other great news is that we have the replays for the September event. Siobhan, can you tell people about that?
Yeah, so for people who weren't able to attend or weren't sure if it was right for them, we do always have the option of recordings, which are now available for purchase. They're for $197 for the recordings. So for people who aren't aware or are interested as to what happened during that event, our fall event focused on the holistic approach more generally. So that includes the physical, of course, so things like lymphatic treatments and activity and stuff like that. But then also the spiritual and social and mental and psychological. So going into mindset and de-stressing techniques and just a lot of practical stuff in there as well. So we deep dived into some aspects of the lymphatics, which I think people should learn about. Like everybody on earth should know this stuff. But talking a little bit about what the lymphatics are, but then some really key points from Perry Nicholson, for example, talking about how we have to be able to evacuate fluid before new fluid with all that nutrients and oxygen and good stuff can properly come in. Understanding how that works and why it works that way, and some interventions we can do to stimulate that, I thought was really, really cool.
Yes.
And another one I want to highlight, which I also want everybody who has any contact with anybody with lipedema to see, is Matt Carmody's presentation. He had a little Ziploc bag filled with certain contents that was meant to replicate the feeling of lipedema tissue. So that included non-lipedema tissue, but then kind of the early stages, and then the more fibrotic type, so you can really feel it and then compare it against yourself. And I think what's cool about that is that a doctor could easily have that, prepare it in the morning, and then have a patient who thinks they might have lipedema come in and then use that as a textural guide. This is something we've been talking about for a while, of we just need a model, because once you know what that feeling is,
Right.
then that is a lot of power towards the physician and the patient. So I want everybody to go watch that.
I know that when you are at conferences and you're talking about lipedema, you have lots of people come up to you, and they want you to feel their tissues, and then you say, well, feel mine, so that you can compare. So this is something that people, they need to experience to help them identify if they think this is what's happening inside of them. And for Dr. Carmody to come up with that idea of something that can be very textural, that really can help you understand what that could feel like, was so good. And it's going to be so good for clinicians as well as patients.
Mm-hmm. And a Facebook user in the chat, I'm not sure who you are, but let us know, said, Dr. Carmody, I'll never look at chickpeas the same way again.
Yep, because that was one of the ingredients of that Ziploc bag, was chickpeas. That's right. And Winetta says that she's mostly cloudy and 35 degrees Fahrenheit in Anchorage. They have a good base of snow there, and so skiing is on. And conversely, it's summer in New Zealand, and Beck says a nice spring morning there. Sorry, it's not summer, it's spring. And Dottie is in Indiana, and it's 60 degrees and sunny. And Dina is in Ohio. Thanks for being here. Thanks for posting too. Patsy says drought is ending. Rain continues to flash. Ooh, flash flood warning. Be careful. Wet and wild and wet in South Arkansas. So yeah, that can get kind of crazy when you haven't had rain for a long time, and then all of a sudden you get a bunch.
Yeah.
And another Facebook user says, Petersboro, New Hampshire. Been working with you folks for many months, and I have not seen anybody from Petersburg, New Hampshire. So I'm glad you finally posted. Wonderful to have you here with us. So,
I feel like we should have a big map and just put pins
yes,
wherever people say they are.
Oh, great idea. Yes, that's really good. I love that idea. And I mean, we got to have a world map. You can't just have the United States.
Yeah.
Anne Marie is here from New Jersey, and they're having hot weather this week. Is it humid also, Anne Marie? That is, sometimes back east it goes together with those two together. And we've talked about this before, but hot and humid can be hard on lipedema.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to swell and can have more discomfort in that kind of weather, which is why we like to talk about weather. But there's a couple other things coming up that I wanted to make sure people knew about. And it's more of just to save the date and keep an eye out for announcements, because we are going to have a couple of free webinars that are going to be coming up. Lipedema 101 and Surgery Simplified Masterclass. These are going to be coming up soon, so keep an eye out for those. I don't have dates on those yet, but we do have a date on a day-long event that is going to help you through the holidays, and that is going to be December 8th. So save the date and you will get more information as that is available, but mark December 8th on your calendar so that hopefully you'll be able to attend that with us. Oh, people are posting like crazy. Siobhan, you want to take some of those?
Sure. Kristen said, "Good afternoon from Northern California. We're having a crisp, colorful fall day filled not only with vibrant colors and hummingbirds dancing around my windows." That's awesome. I always love seeing hummingbirds.
Uh-huh.
And Anne-Marie clarified, no humidity, so that's
Okay.
good.
Very good.
And another Facebook user said, "Joanne from Atlanta here. My AC has been running today."
Yeah. And Joanne, I was just in Atlanta 2 or 3 weeks ago. They have the Lighthouse Lymphedema Conference that happens in Atlanta every year around this time of year. And I was able to go for the first time. It's an awesome conference. I don't know if you've ever attended.
Very cool. Anna from Massachusetts. "It was warm, but temperatures are dropping again. Fire warnings the last few weeks because of drought." Ouch.
Okay. And I know that's where Catherine is too in Massachusetts. So I think the fluctuating temperatures has been happening up there in the Northeast. So Siobhan, we all want to know what is happening on your self-experiment. Can you give everybody an idea again of what your experiment has been and then any new developments that have been going on this last couple of weeks?
Yes, so I've officially been doing this experiment for 1 month now because I started on October 7th. That's when I got my first round of blood work done. And the experiment that I'm doing is essentially water fasting, but I'm adding in exogenous ketones. And just a quick recap for anybody who's new. When your body burns fat for fuel, you end up producing ketones. That's why ketogenic diets are called ketogenic, because they're ketone producing or ketone generating. And so there's also this thing that you can take called exogenous ketones. And exogenous ketones are either precursors, so something that you take and then your body takes those and makes ketones out of them. That could include ketone salts, ketone esters, and then ketone alcohols. Not the type of alcohol that gets you drunk, but essentially what the precursor is bound to. Or bioidenticals is the other one. You could possibly also include MCT oil because your body will make ketones out of that, but usually it's slightly on the periphery. So what I was originally doing is for the first 3 weeks, I was doing bioidentical ketones, which is original ketone. I know the company owners, we ended up getting connected through our exogenous ketone project for lipedema. I ended up really liking their product, so I decided to start with that and had really good results with that. And then I was talking with my fasting buddy about, I wonder if there's any difference depending on the type of exogenous ketone I'm taking. So I happen to already have some audacious nutrition ketones on hand, which are salts. So they're precursors bound with sodium and magnesium, stuff like that. So you take those and your liver takes it and then makes ketones out of them. And I was honestly not expecting much of a difference. Just like, okay, ketones are ketones, whatever. But at least what I found with this first fast, which was 48 hours of water only plus the ketones, I found that they didn't actually help with my hunger very much, which was pretty annoying. So I kept having waves of hunger coming up through the fast. Not super strong, but definitely noticeable. And
you're saying this is your response with the precursor.
Yes.
That wasn't your response when you were using the original ketone, bioidentical ketones. It seemed to control your hunger then. But
Yes.
now when you're doing this with the precursor ketones, essentially, there's the salts, then you did experience some breakthrough hunger.
Yes, breakthrough hunger. And then with the bioidenticals, I felt, I would say, even better than normal during the fast. So my energy was really high. My mood was excellent. Sometimes I would feel like borderline euphoric, which is always a nice feeling. Very productive. And with the precursors, that wasn't happening. So I didn't feel bad other than being hungry, but I would say not great either. I didn't have that really high mood. I would say I've been more irritable than usual since starting this leg of the experiment. But I will caveat and say that I did take 6 days off of fasting for baselining before getting new blood work done and having a little bit more of a gap. So this may be a transitory thing. So I'm doing another fast starting this evening, and I'm hoping that will have better results. But one thing I did also notice with the precursors is that with the bioidenticals, my glucose was dropping down into the 60s often during the 48-hour fasts. With the precursors, it stayed up at between 80 and 90, so it didn't change.
Okay.
And then my ketones with the bioidenticals were going up to 3 to 4 millimoles, so about double what my normal is. And with the precursors, my morning glucose or morning ketones, and then ketones at 3 to 5. Morning is 2 millimole, even on the back of that 48-hour fast. And then evening, it was around, I think, 3 to 4. So not really a huge change there either. I don't know why there is that difference, but we'll see.
It does seem to be. It seems like there is a correlation between level of ketosis and hunger.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And maybe that's why with the bioidentical, because as far as I understand, because you're literally drinking ketones that are immediately available, and with the precursors, there may be a bit more of a time delay. And then I know with audacious nutrition, it's a mix between L and R ketones. So the natural form that your body produces is R. And so they have both. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. But again, I could come back next week and say, actually, I was totally wrong. It was just an adaptation thing. So I'll definitely report back. But it's very interesting so far that there's been a difference.
Yeah, and you also, besides blood work, didn't you also do body composition?
Yeah, so I'm not a full week into using the audacious nutrition ketones yet. So what's interesting is that I had a bout of swelling because some storms came through, some thunderstorms, and it made my calves swell, which hasn't happened in a while. But so after that, I did another body composition scan, and it said that the fat in my legs had gone up. And I was like, is it really that fast? I don't, but so at my lymphatic appointment, though, we're doing the fibrosis breakup, and she did say that she could feel more fibrosis in my legs, like it was more sticky, a bit more congested. And so I wonder if the in-body scans are maybe reading fibrotic tissue a little bit weird because it does rely on electrical signals.
And I would have thought that the fibrotic tissue would have shown up on your lean body mass.
Yeah, and my lean mass in my legs specifically did go back up again, particularly in my left leg, which is where the worst of the swelling tends to be. But maybe I did gain fat in that short amount of time. That would surprise me because it was only a week. So
yeah, did you, as much as possible, did you mirror the exact same conditions as far as hydration level when you last ate? All those, because any of those, if you change any of those variables, amount or time of exercise or any of that stuff, it can affect the in-body results.
Yeah, and I do try to control that as much as I can. So each scan is immediately in the morning after waking up, after going to the bathroom, before eating or drinking anything. So that's the baseline. I'm always at least 12 hours fasted. And I don't do it immediately after a long fast. So I'll wait until I've eaten a meal the previous day so that my body can adjust again and I'm not getting weird readings.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm curious. I mean, there's going to be variation so it could just be natural variation of the scan. Yes. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Right.
But I'll do another one on Tuesday, and then I'll probably do another one on Wednesday. just to see what smaller variation there is there. But
Yeah.
so not far in enough to see if this round of fasting has had any impact on body composition yet. I only have the baseline before starting.
Yeah. And what we would expect, I mean, my hypothesis is that the greatest response to fasting and the most immediate response would be fluid levels, your fluid load. But looking at lean mass and fat mass is also, really good to track. And there are natural fluctuations that are just going to happen on a daily basis. And so typically, not when you're doing this experiment, but typically people aren't doing them. They're more than like maybe once a month, but usually like every 6 months. Juanetta is just saying that she's uses the BOD body composition measurement, and she's going to do it every 6 months. So unless you're doing an experiment like Siobhan's doing and really collecting data, I would not recommend doing the body composition as often as Siobhan's doing it, just because those natural fluctuations will make you a little bit crazy. So
yeah, and I'm very much used to data collection of this sort. So mainly I'm just looking at trends. Right. And I know sometimes the body's just going to do whatever it's going to do, and there won't be any changes this week or whatever it is. So not concerned about those. Part of the reason I'm doing them so frequently is because I'm fasting literally 4 out of 7 days of the week. So I want to keep a close eye on my lean body mass and bone mass and make sure that those are remaining stable. And so far they have been, with a little bit of fluctuation, but nothing I would consider concerning. Right. And then also looking at fat mass specifically, but then also water loss. So what's interesting is I had lost 4 kilos of fluid over the previous 3 weeks of the fasting. So there was an initial larger drop, but then continuous drops over the weeks. And after taking a 6-day break from fasting, that fluid actually remained off. So my fluid level actually didn't change when I took that break, which is pretty cool. So we'll see if it continues going down. That would be my hope, but we'll see.
Can we talk a little bit about when you break your fast and you're eating maybe for over a 24-hour period or something before you go into your next fast? Can you talk a little bit about what you're eating? Because when you're eating, that could be just as important to the strength of the experiment as how long you're not eating.
Yeah. So I have the 48-hour fast, and then in between each one is 36 hours. Okay. So it's like a 60-40 split-ish, I think, almost 50-50. Which is generally what I see recommended if you're going to be doing periodic fasting. So not just like once a month or something, just to make sure that you're eating enough between each fast so you're not undernutritioned. Right. And so I'll have an evening meal, and then the next day I'll have 2 or 3 meals, just to make sure that I can eat enough. And generally, the way that I eat just for my mental health and lipedema management and stuff like that is a ketogenic diet. I do include some plants at this point, mostly just tomato, onion, and avocado. And I'm doing a very, very high fat ketogenic diet, meaning around 80 to 85% fat by calorie, or 2 to 2.5 to 1 by macronutrient gram, and then under 20 grams of carbs per day. And I do that because it helps my mood the most. But also I find that when I'm doing that, I tend to swell less. I have less fatigue, less of the kind of muscle fatigue that I can sometimes get. So overall, it seems to work best for me. I would say doing this amount of fasting might be more difficult if you're on a high carb diet. And I think you would have to be more careful about how you break your fast, because when you're going from this super low insulin state, you become slightly glucose intolerant because your body's burning fat. So it's saying no to glucose because it doesn't like mixing fuels very much. And so then if you suddenly introduce a lot of carbs in that context, it can, for one, make your glucose go very high. but it can also cause a sudden shift in insulin, and that can impact electrolytes. So when people talk about refeeding syndrome, that happens when you're coming from this underfed, starved, fasted state, and then all of a sudden introduce a ton of carbs.
Yes.
So for anyone who's doing fasting, I would want them to work with a physician who's aware of, if you're on this diet, maybe start with this type of thing first and then transition back to your normal diet. And then also pay attention to, if you're alternating between fasting and refeeding, are you finding that you're binging when you're refeeding because you're hungry, stuff like that?
Yes.
So for me, the amount of food that I'm eating doesn't actually change that much, whether I'm fasting or not. It's all to appetite. I'm not super hungry after coming off of my fast. I'm getting satiated at my meals. And if I'm not, it's usually because of what I'm eating. So not eating enough fat for my needs, stuff like that. But I do pay close attention to it. And I also pay close attention to how I feel when I think about upcoming fasts.
Yes.
So when I was
using dreading it, that is a key or a red flag. Yes.
So with the bioidenticals, I was super excited for the next fast, ready to go. Kind of like, oh, I have to eat. Well, sure, fine, I'll eat, but I really want to get back to fasting. With the precursors, it's more like, yeah, another fast would be okay. So not the same level of excitement, but not resistant to it, not dreading it, not anything like that. So I'm still in a green flag zone to continue. If this next fast does not go well and I'm hungry throughout it, if my mood gets worse, anything like that, I'll just call it done in a week and switch back to the bioidenticals. If it actually does go better to where I'm not getting hungry, I have good energy levels, good mood, stuff like that, I'll continue it for another week. But I don't want to force a experiment that's going to make me feel bad. So if I'm getting worse results, I'll just say, okay.
Yeah. Because you've already been through that, Siobhan. You've had some disastrous experiments that have taught everybody a lot, but you're sacrificing your own health and wellness. So we wanted to tell you that you don't have to do that. And I'm glad that you're going to be listening to yourself and not sacrificing yourself for science.
Yes, definitely. So I'll report back next week and let you guys know how it goes. But worst comes to worst, I have an option that works, so I can always just switch back to that, and it's no big deal. Yeah.
So be sure and everybody tune in with us next week and to find out more about how this wonderful self-experiment is going. I think Siobhan is always contributing to the body of knowledge about lipedema, but also kind of health and wellness in general. So we're really happy to learn about what you have to share in these N of 1 experiments. And so everybody, we are going to wrap it up here. It's been wonderful hanging out with you again, and we do look forward to being with you again next Friday at this same time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for being here, and see you next time.
Yeah, see you.
Bye, everybody.